so many things, like how to love and how to lose and how to choose.
Well, hello, this is Linda Carbonneau from Walking Through Life TV show. I have a great guest today, and Kayla Schreiner was supposed to be my co-host today. She's a team member of the Walking Through Life page on Facebook. So we miss you, Kayla. I know we tried to make the connection, we just couldn't. But let's get back to Rae. Hey, Rae, so it's nice to see you again. I actually have seen you before. We've talked before, and you know, it's great to see what you have done with your life, and I won't go any further than that because I want everybody to be a little surprised.
Yeah, so I'm at the other side of a 2-year journey to heal from cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January of 2018 and was already pretty sick with a few other diseases. And so it was a non-invasive breast cancer, but I also had adenomyosis and depression and anxiety and a pinched nerve and arthritis. And so there was a whole magnitude of health issues that really escalated all at once and caused a really challenging health crisis in my life. And with that, I went through some pretty serious situations through that journey, but the journey itself was served really as an opportunity for me to ultimately find my voice and reclaim my power and reconnect with the kind of the inner child that I am inside. Yes. And reconnect with who I'm really meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I want to encourage people, too, to go to YouTube and look up Rae Carter Empowered. She's got some beautiful scenery at her sanctuary. And I couldn't believe it. I was just seeing the magic and seeing that this is something I've always craved. And you created that. And it's wonderful. It's like I said, I had a fairy garden. And I agree with you with the healing part, because that part can be so healing. Like after, I had my cancer, my ovarian cancer, and couldn't have children. So I lost faith in that little girl. But I found her again. Oh, yeah, she shines. So, yeah, really, it's really great that we have ourselves to be able to, don't you think once we make ourselves happy, others can kind of like pick up on it and feel it, and that's what I've gotten out of everything.
Yeah, for certainly. The law of attraction, it's really true, and it's been hard. It's hard to have gone through such dark times and have been in crisis, and I kind of had to have surgery after surgery because they kept finding cancer. So it went from what was supposed to be kind of a simple process, which was what was originally described to me, to this big nightmare that lasted a lot longer and created a lot of additional health complications. And, trying to, one of the triggers for me was always, and still is, when people say, "How are you?" Because it's just such a loaded question, and people are meaning wonderful things when they're interested in knowing how you are. And where's that balance of what you're feeling in the moment and what you've gone through and how you want to show up in the world. Like, those are just a lot of areas that I certainly think about, because it's not, there's hard days and there's good days. And there became a point while I was going through the crisis and going through all of the health issues where I really started to take a really holistic approach at looking at a mind, body, spirit connectivity to my healing. And when I started really learning about the diseases I had and spending time outside and engaging in holistic healing modalities, I started to be able to see kind of some beauty around me that I was blinded to because of so much, I was dealing with so much suffering. And that was a turning point for me.
Yeah, well, and I like to view it as like a veil. The veil is down, But once you work on yourself and work on, knowing what you want to do with your life, what your mission is, and, for yourself, And I did that, but I did it very slow. It was very, very slow. And it's kind of like once I did lift up the veil of darkness, it was like I saw flowers growing that I'd never seen before. I was at the tannery in Lebanon, actually, down at the bottom, looking into the pool they had there that had so much dirt and destruction in it, you know. When I looked up, there was a family of ducks in that pond, I swear. And it was just, that was the point that I had my spiritual awakening. It was like, wow. You know, it was like for so many years, it was this dark veil. And it just, you know.
Yeah, I think, I suffered from some pretty intense depression when things just kept going bad. And it happened to be at the same time when spring was just starting, which is my favorite season. And I love spring. And being able to embrace that I was in a depression, and that's a cycle of life. That's a cycle of nature. You know, it's winter now when we're doing this. And a lot of people have, you know, struggle with seasonal depression. And I think there's, you know, sometimes there can be kind of a fighting and an anger towards that. And what I found was by being able to accept where I was at and accept, like, I am depressed right now. I am suffering from depression. There's so many escalating factors in my life, and that's not something that I need to be ashamed of.
No.
Instead, that's really something that I really need to embrace and accept and go into myself. And it was at that point, I mean, it wasn't winter at that time, but it was spring for what I was going through, and being able to really be in the woods, and I would hug the trees and listen to the trees and walk barefoot on the moss and just really get into myself and start listening to my intuition, and having kind of Mother Earth be able to, you know, speak through me in a way, and be able to listen to the messages that are out there that, you know, you may not be able to access without kind of getting into that darker space. And that's, you know, I've always been somebody who is very kind of based in earth spirituality, and my journey really allowed me to embrace that and understand the cycles of nature even more. So now that it is winter, you know, it's still time to come within and, you know, have those different kind of, you know, those different moments in your life when you're embracing the inner child, or when you're embracing the inner wisdom, because it's kind of a part of the cycle of the year, a cycle of nature.
Yeah. And when you say inner wisdom, okay, so this is, because we all know ourselves pretty well. And we all know that when things aren't, things need to be changed in your life, or, you know, there's something that you want to achieve. And I think by going inward, that's where you're going to find it. And sometimes you do have to deal with the past and you know, things that have happened in your life. But I like to go back and look at it as that's my strength, because I made it through that, you know, a life full of whatever it was, that each one was a lesson for me. But the most powerful lesson that I got was all my life I just wanted somebody to say they loved me. But I didn't tell myself that. You know, I didn't tell myself that I loved me, so how could anybody else really, you know? So, yeah, that was a beautiful moment for me, and I know it was for you. I'd sit and, it's like I could sit and watch your videos and just meditate like I'm there, you know? It's great. My sister comes and gets me once in a while and takes me up to the forest up in North Conway there. I like to go up there. We feed the chippies.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had similar, the self-love and outside validation are, you know, they're huge, and they're huge challenges for me, and really unpacking what was the trauma that was behind a lot of my behaviors and way that I showed up in the world, that kind of wasn't really who I was anymore, kind of through just for me, the cycle of the past 10 years has been really rough. And kind of the cancer was like a culminating wake-up call.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks that it had to be such a health crisis to really have that wake-up call. And I think that's something that people struggle with. We're in such a fast-paced society. And, you know, I don't know if everybody is in touch with their inner wisdom. I think that we get messages and we know that something's wrong, but like we have to pay the bills, and we have to go to work, and we have to attend to different people in our lives. And there's so many responsibilities, and it's just so messy and busy, and there's so much noise out there, that being able to take a pause to listen to that inner voice and even go back to our true nature of having intuition, I don't think is in the space for a lot of people. It certainly wasn't for me. And it took that, you know, I would say to people, I felt like the reason why I think things kept getting worse and worse for me was because I am so strong that I was like the universe shaking me, being like, you have to stop. You have to stop everything. And it wasn't until I actually was physically so in pain and couldn't move, because at one point I couldn't move my neck so I could do this. And I couldn't, you know, I had all these coloring books and books to read, and I couldn't even write. I couldn't move my head up and down, and literally I could do nothing but sit and walk slowly and use my legs. And that was, you know, stopping, kind of, you know, as one book told me, stopping, tuning into what's around you, and then starting the process of letting go. Which was a whole other part of the journey in itself. Just all of the ways of letting go of all of that trauma and the stuff, the energy that's just was stuck to me for so long. My own energy, other people's energy, and going back to, you know, your point about the love, and just, you know, how so much of it is based in you want people to love you. You want to be able to love yourself. And that is a really, you know, it's hard to come by when there's so much stuff that, you know, that can get in the way of that. And I started to learn that my journey really wasn't about life and death and not having a life-threatening cancer. You know, that doesn't ring with me. Like, some people are like, oh, well, aren't you, you know, thank God you're alive. And it's like, well, I wasn't facing death. So that's not a part of the cancer journey for me. Instead, it was about learning to love and accept myself so that I can invite in love and be able to love other people.
Yeah. Because I think that's really hard for a lot of us, is to be able to see our value and be able to see that we are unconditionally loved, and that we're okay to love others. And sometimes that can be hard, depending on whatever people have gone through or whatever. But if we could trust ourselves and trust our intuitions and trust when we don't feel good, we don't feel good. You know, it's like with me with a severe mental illness. I know when I don't feel good that I need help. And instead of denying it and going back here, I ask for it. I say, I need help, you know. And that's what we find within ourselves, too. You know, so I think, Renee, that you have found yourself, and I think you're still exploring, and you're on a great journey. You know, who knows what tomorrow's going to bring, but it's got to be something great, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of that self-love is also knowing and honoring your boundaries. And I didn't have boundaries before. And I thought that love was just putting love out and putting energy into other things, and it would come back. And that kind of bit me in the butt really bad. And being able to realize that part of, like, in order to love others, you need to love yourself. And part of loving yourself is knowing and honoring your boundaries, because you have to be able to be there for yourself first, or you know, that's kind of a part of what that love is. And you can love others by still having safe and protected boundaries for yourself and your own energy. And that's a confusing, challenging path to navigate, especially if you're empathetic and have a lot of emotions. And, you know, I'm a verbose person, and so I want to help people, and I have a lot to offer, and really learning, like, where I need to pull back and identifying what my boundaries are.
You know, I just went through something like that, setting boundaries and things like that. And the worst part about Chico, the thing's on there. He's going to come fix it.
Well, it's still going to want to keep us out after a little bit. We got 10 minutes. We could reset, though, if we need.
Okay.
But let me change the camera angle real quick.
All right. I'm just going to change the channel.
Okay.
All right.
Could you restart that thought?
Speaking about boundaries, this is something that I'd like to say, is that we have to keep boundaries so that we can also share our beauty and share our journey without negativity in our head. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's hard, because if you're, you know, I mean, going through some of it now is just struggling of how I'm moving forward, and you know, honestly, how I'm going to make a living, and how, you know, financial security was a challenge throughout the entire journey, and it continues to be a challenge now. And when your base needs aren't met, and that's that's a piece of fear, that fear manifests in so many different ways in your body and can come out in different ways. And so there's this mindfulness around really identifying what I'm feeling and trying to move it through my body so that it doesn't present itself in ways to other people. And you know, and that also, you know, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling, but then how you actually present that to people in a way that reciprocates the type of love and energy you're trying to bring back, it takes a lot of work, especially if you're going through challenges and you are an authentic person. Like for me, I want to show up in the world as a true, honest, authentic person, but sometimes that true, authentic, honest person is having a really hard time, and I don't want to discredit what I'm going through. But then I also know that, especially with the law of attraction, like putting that out there isn't necessarily the, you know, I don't want to keep bringing the same junk back to me. So finding the balance of that is something I'm actually currently working on a lot right now.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's it. And you got to know what you're willing to do to achieve the dream that you have, which is creating this magical forest and creating this magical world that you have seen that most of us have not seen. In your eyes, you've seen it. So therefore, you bring it to us. And that is beautiful. I also know that you sing. I saw that too. Yeah. I really checked you out. Really good.
Yeah, singing is much more a part of my past, my longer past. I was a singer for a long time. I studied voice for 12 years and got to sing backup actually with Kenny Rogers and Natalie Merchant, which was both very exciting. But that was all in my younger days. And as my career developed through my 20s and 30s and then into my 40s, singing would just completely fell to the wayside. And part of my healing journey and finding my voice was also kind of in these dark moments, going out in the woods.
Yes.
I would sing and I would yell and I would move energy through my body and let it come out my voice. And I would write a lot of songs, and my partner and I have a fun little music project that we do really just kind of in the house with some other musicians as a way of just being able to create with each other. And it's been a wonderful part of my journey to reclaim the voice, not just my speaking voice and the perceptions that I have and the wisdom that I want to share, and my views on the world and challenges that are in the world and what needs to be done, but also, coming out and being able to sing it out.
Yeah. And
really
play.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you know, I admire that about you, and I admire your gift for being able to see and create this beautiful you know what I mean? You, and then sharing it with us. And
Thank
truly
you.
being
It's
able
really
to experience that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, to me, being able to share my truth, whether it's through whatever creative method it's through, is something that I haven't done for a long time. And that's a part of kind of the spiritual crisis that I went through, was not being able to share my creativity and kind of just working and sharing everybody else's creativity, being a marketing and communications person. And part of my journey has been reclaiming that creativity and being able to share it. And I know that I feel really good when I'm able to share and present information and speak to people. And I know that there's an impact that people receive from that. And I'm really comfortable with sharing my vulnerability, because it's so important to talk about what we're going through, because it helps us connect with other people. It helps bring healing. If you're living on the earth right now, you have trauma. Yep. It doesn't have to be cancer. It doesn't have to be Lyme disease. Like, you have trauma. And it's varying for everybody. And there's not a competition of who's right. You know, but we all have it. And the way that I really fully believe that we can make the world a better place is by finding some space to be able to heal our own traumas, hopefully before it gets to a health crisis. And that is something that we can do for ourselves. And so I believe very much in kind of being able to inspire, using the voice and feeling empowered to use that, because that's how you can stand up for your needs. You can advocate for what you need. You can speak up when you see an injustice in society and not feel, you know, as fearful about speaking up, because that lack of the voice is so, it contributes to so many challenges in personal lives and in our culture. And so I believe very much in helping inspire people to how, you know, how the voice can be used for your own health and for the health of our world.
You know, and this is why you won the Tell Your Story, is because I saw that as soon as I read, I think, the first 2 sentences of what you had written. And I said, whoa. I said, now she's talking about similar stuff that we've been talking about on Walking Through Life. So, and that, you know, it was great to read that and bring you here. You know, to be able to be on the show is a wonderful thing too, because you have so much to offer us, everybody, if that's what they want. And I think, I know I do. I think you've made a friend for life. And we could share our fairy tales.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the sanctuary we have here, and what we're trying to do is, I mean, again, part of my path is to try to be able to stay on the land that we're living on. We were able to, I mean, partly purchase, because we're paying a mortgage, several years ago, this land in Plainfield that is just a beautiful selection of forests that my partner and I feel very passionate about stewarding the land and really helping clear the woods and make magical spaces in the woods. And it was such an important part of kind of creating this healing sanctuary for my journey. And it's important for me to help more people connect to the earth. And I like to be able to bring people to our space, because there is so much magic there. And, you know, we don't have anything set now, but we're trying to figure out how we can do that. So I am doing some hosting of small healing circles with women in our space. And we held a retreat last year, and we want to do some more with forest bathing and meditation.
Oh, wow.
And Reiki, kind of bringing people to the space for, you know, specific events, and also a part of maybe some of the coaching that I might do, being able to do some, you know, sharing that land, because we're stewarding it. It's not, we don't own it. It's not our land. It's, you know, if anything, it belongs to the original ancestors of this land, who were indigenous people here. And it's our responsibility to take care of it, to manage it properly, and to help more people connect with the earth, because we're blessed to have this 7 acres of land. And I feel what's most important is being able to have that be a way that others can heal, working with that land, but also in a way that honors our boundaries. So, you know, trying to navigate how to do that. But that's something that's really important to me, is sharing the space and the wisdom and the healing modalities that I'm starting to develop with other people.
Yeah. Well, you know, we want to keep up with your journey, so we'd definitely want you to come back. And I know that Chico, so we're getting down to the last few minutes to say the message, but I want you to read that poem if you could. And then maybe after that poem, give your message that you want the world to hear from you.
I remove my shoes and socks and sink my bare feet into the nurturing moss of Mother Gaia. She caresses my soles as my toes hug her damp fibers. A chorus of song erupts from the trees, splashing against the trickle of the stream that nourishes the moss. I stick out my tongue to taste the air and breathe deeply the smells of the forest floor. My feet find their way to a soft pine bed beneath the goddess of the woods, their branches reaching for an embrace. I oblige, my cheek pressing against the brittle bark, feeling the love of my ancestors from the universal life energy of the trees. As I travel back the trail from which I came, The peepers begin to sing in the pond which feeds the stream.
That is just so beautiful. I just, I have to say how beautiful that is, how much that touched me. Okay, well, Renee, we're going to say goodbye for today, but my message to everybody out there is we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones that want to create a better life, or to support the community or what it is we choose to do. In creating things like gardens and forests and, creating magical places such as Rae did and that I do with my fairy garden, it is a gift to the world when they see something that they can connect with that they once saw or are still seeing, experiencing it. It's just a wonderful gift. And I bet you can all be creative and find something like this that you'd like to do too. So I want to challenge you to that, to find something that you would like to create about your world. And let us know. You can leave a message for Rae. You can leave a message for me or Kayla on the Walking Through Life TV show page. And so I'm sending everybody off, Rae and everybody out there, with love and gratitude for all of you. We'll see you next time on Walking Through Life. Bye-bye.
Thank you for visiting. My name is Rae Carter, and Empower is an approach to how I communicate and navigate following a very transformational healing journey from breast cancer and several interconnected diseases. When I began to reclaim my power and my voice, I began to heal. This page is a space for me to integrate the knowledge and the wisdom I have learned and continue to learn, and to be able to share it with you. I will also share how I am moving forward in the world as an advocate for social change, honoring the cycles of nature with compassion and empathy for all living beings. I hope you will like the page Rae Carter Empower and stay informed about where I might be speaking, my writing, the spaces I am called to facilitate, and how I might be able to support your efforts. I also hope I inspire you to vocalize your own truth, to make a stand for your personal well-being, and to act out of love for all people, all animals, and our planet. With love, light, and gratitude. Thank you.
Walking through this life of mine, well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how